Many of you continue to reach out with us with questions about the flu, COVID, RSV, and the latest booster. Dr. Mallika Marshall joining us now with some answers, so let's get to these viewer questions.
Sounds good.
Doctor. All right, Joanne asks, I'm 69 years old. I've kept up with all of my COVID vaxes. I've received the bivalent booster back in September, so now it's been over 3 months since my last shot. When should I get that booster? I've never had COVID as far as I know.
Which is great. And I'm so glad, Joanne, that you have been keeping up with your COVID boosters. It's been 3 months since your last booster, that bivalent booster, but it's generally not recommended that people get additional boosters at this time as long as you've gotten that bivalent. You know, scientists are constantly looking out for new variants and the levels of infection in the community and levels of immunity. So at some point, an additional booster may be recommended, but right now you are up to date. That said, we know that COVID numbers are creeping up. So if you really want to protect yourself, it's important to wear your mask when you're out in public and be careful of exposure to people who may have been exposed to COVID themselves or may have symptoms of COVID. So just take good care of yourself over the next couple of months and we'll keep you posted on boosters.
Always good to kind of reinforce and remind people of best practices moving forward.
Masks.
Okay, Dean from Arlington asked, that hasn't changed. Hey, I haven't heard much about the effectiveness of this year's flu vaccine. Is the vaccine a good match for the virus that we've actually have this year?
Dean, that's a really good question, you know, because actually the CDC back in December reported that so far it looks like the formulations of the flu shot are actually a good match for the strains that are circulating in the U.S. right now. Now, of course, it's going to take some time. It's usually not till the end of flu season that we really have a good idea of exactly how effective a vaccine is. So for the 2022-2023 season, we're going to have to wait a little while. That said, I would have to say that anecdotally in my urgent care practice, most of the people that have been testing positive for the flu are people who have not gotten their flu shots.
Wow.
It is not too late. It is January, but sometimes we see flu up to May, even though we saw it really early this year. So if you haven't gotten your flu shot, please go out and get it as soon as possible.
I always say the discomfort of a quick prick from a shot is a lot less than the
Don't
discomfort
you feel like
for
they
the
don't
virus.
hurt nearly as much as they did years ago? I don't know, maybe it's because I was a kid and more frightened, but I know some people are needle phobic, so I understand that it is a little prick, but it's
I have my boys to hold my hand and get me through it.
Right.
All right, this is a fun one. A viewer asks, a new study finds if you want to be happier, you may want to diversify your social circle. What does that mean?
I know. Well, first of all, we know that interpersonal relationships are really important for one's mental health. But the question is it okay just to have one really close bond? Is that enough? Well, researchers at Harvard Business School say maybe not. They actually surveyed nearly 600 people and found that their happiness was associated with the number and type of different people they encountered the day before. They say that diversifying your interpersonal relationships might be just as important as diversifying your financial investments. And yeah, spending time with a significant other or a close family member is food for the soul. But you can become complacent. And when you interact with strangers, you're sort of forced to do things that you might not do with your significant other. You ask questions, you have novel conversations, and that level of engagement can actually increase your well-being.
How about that? It all makes sense.
Which is why we're talking now, because you're
Absolutely.
giving me positive vibes and improving my well-being.
And I always enjoy asking you questions, and you're just a light.
Aw, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dr. Mallika offers her best advice, but as always, you want to consult your personal doctor before you make any decisions on your own health. If you do have a question for the doctor about COVID, any other medical issues, 3 ways to reach her: email at drmallika@cbs.com, on Twitter @Mallika Marshall, or Facebook message her, Dr. Mallika Marshall.